At the holiday festival in Columbus, the carols were loud, the lights were blinding, and my 7-month-old Jude started to cry. My sister Mara leaned in with a camera-ready smile, then, like a switch flipped, hit my baby to teach him to be quiet. I grabbed Jude, expecting my family to rush in, but my mom stared at the stage, my dad looked away, and everyone stayed silent. Mara rolled her eyes and said, "Zoe, you're overreacting." 2 days later, daycare pulled the security footage. My fire captain husband had her removed from the pickup list forever, and that's when we learned she'd been added long before we asked. The worst part wasn't even Mara's hand. It was what happened right after. Jude's little face crumpled, his cry turning into that panicked, helpless wail that makes every parent's body go cold. I pulled him tight against my chest, rocking instinctively, scanning for the normal reflex, an aunt gasping, a mom rushing over, someone saying, "Are you okay?" Nothing. My mother's eyes stayed fixed on the stage where a kids' choir kept singing like we were all extras in somebody else's wholesome holiday movie. My father took out his phone and stared at the screen like it could swallow him. And Mara actually sighed like my baby had inconvenienced her. "Zoe," she said, lowering her voice into that sweet, coached tone she uses with strangers. "You're making this bigger than it is." I felt Cole step in beside me. Even off duty, he has that calm, ready posture years of walking into emergencies and not losing his head. He didn't shove, didn't bark, didn't do anything dramatic. He just placed himself between Mara and Jude like it was the most natural thing in the world and asked me softly, "Do you want to leave before I could answer?" My mother finally moved, but not toward Jude, toward me. She touched my elbow like I was the problem to manage. "Honey," she whispered, tight-lipped, "not here. People are watching. People. Watching." As if that was the real danger. Mara's friends from the community booth drifted over with paper cups of cocoa, and she slipped right back into her public mask. "Oh my gosh! Baby's right," she laughed, waving a hand like she'd just shooed a fly. "He's fine. Zoe's just intense." There it was again, the family translation for anything inconvenient. Zoe's intense. Zoe's sensitive. Zoe overreacts. I looked down at Jude's cheek, still flushed, and something sharp clicked in my mind. Not a plan, more like a realization. This wasn't a one-time lapse. This was a pattern I'd been trained to survive, everyone protecting Mara's comfort, and me being asked to swallow the consequences. My dad finally looked up long enough to offer a weak half-smile. "Let's not ruin the night," he said, like my baby's fear was a spilled drink. Cole's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice even. "We're leaving," he said, not to Mara, not to my parents, but to me. As we walked away, I heard Mara call after us, bright and dismissive Zoe, seriously overreacting, and that's when I realized the silence wasn't accidental. It was a rule. By the time we got home, Jude was asleep, exhausted in that unfair way babies get after the adults around them fail them. I should have been relieved, instead. My stomach stayed tight, like my body refused to believe the danger was over just because the crying stopped. My phone buzzed before I'd even taken my coat off. A family group chat, the same one that usually fills up with cookie photos and blessed messages. "Mom, let's all calm down." Emotions were high. "Dad, nobody wants drama." "Mara, Zoe, I get you were stressed, but you were overreacting." There it was again. Overreacting. Not a word. A spell. The kind that turns a clear wrong into a miscommunication and turns the person protecting a baby into the problem. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Me. She hit Jude. "He's a baby." "That's not stress." Mom called immediately. Her voice was soft, too soft. The "please don't embarrass us" voice. "Sweetheart," she said, "you know how Mara is. She does things impulsively. But you can't treat her like she's dangerous. She's family." "She hurt my child," I said, keeping my own voice steady because if I raised it, I knew exactly what would happen next, and right on cue. Mom sighed. You're taking this so personally. You're exhausted. New motherhood. It amplifies everything. Cole was at the counter rinsing bottles, listening without interrupting, when I hung up. He didn't say. They're wrong. He said, tell me what happened, start to finish. Cole. No opinions, he said gently. Just facts, like you're giving a report at work. That stopped me. It pulled me out of the fog. So I did it. I described the lights, the noise, Jude's cry, Mara leaning in, the movement, the sound, the way my family didn't move, the way Mara looked at me like I was ruining her night. When I finished, Cole nodded once. Now tell me if you heard that from one of your patient's parents. Would you tell them they were overreacting? My throat tightened. No. What would you tell them? I swallowed. That their instincts are right, that a baby's safety comes first. Cole's voice stayed calm. Then why are you letting anyone convince you otherwise? Because they were my parents. Because Mara had always been the center of the room. Because I'd spent my whole life being the one who kept the peace. The next morning, while Jude kicked happily on his playmat, an email popped up from daycare. Subject authorized pickup verification required. It was short, polite, and it made my blood run cold. They needed me to confirm a recent request to update Jude's pickup list. And the name on that request wasn't mine. Daycare was only a short drive, but it felt like I was walking into a hearing. The lobby smelled like disinfectant and cinnamon air freshener. Holiday crafts covered the walls, paper trees, crooked snowflakes, tiny handprints. I should have felt comforted. Instead, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Ms. Patel, the director, greeted me with that careful, professional calm. Zoe, thank you for coming in. We need to verify an authorized pickup change request. She slid a page across the counter. Simple paperwork names, checkboxes, a brief note, authorized pickup Mara. My throat went tight. I didn't submit this. I understand, Ms. Patel said. That's why we asked you here. The request came through a family contact listed on Jude's enrollment. I stepped aside and called my mom. Did you add Mara to Jude's pickup list? I asked. Silence. Then her voice softened into the tone that always means. Please don't make a scene. Honey, it was just for convenience, she said. In case you or Cole get stuck. Mara offered to help. I thought it would be easier. Easier. My sister hit my baby and called me dramatic. Then my own mother quietly handed her access like it was a favor. You didn't ask me, I said, forcing the words out evenly. Zoe, you're still upset, Mom whispered. You're seeing everything through stop, I cut in. She already crossed the line. And you just opened the gate. I ended the call before she could turn it into another lecture about forgiveness. A text from Cole flashed on my screen. I'm leaving early. Don't sign anything. I'm on my way. Ms. Patel brought me into a small office with a round table and a binder labeled Safety. She didn't dramatize it. That made it worse. I want to be clear, she said. When there's a concern involving a child, we don't rely on family explanations. We follow protocol. What concern, I asked, though my stomach already knew. A staff member who volunteered at the holiday festival reported an incident, she said. Because the festival was held in the community center complex, we were able to request the relevant camera footage through building security. My heart thudded. You mean you have video Ms. Patel met my eyes? Yes, we pulled the security footage. We're scheduling a safety review meeting. We recommend both parents attend. Jude slept against my shoulder, warm and trusting, while my world rearranged itself around one sentence. For the first time since the festival, I wasn't drowning in feelings. I was counting steps. Because if Mara planned to rewrite what happened, she was about to be corrected by a screen. The safety review meeting was scheduled for the next afternoon. Ms. Patel's office looked the same holiday crafts on the walls, a small tabletop tree in the corner, but the air felt different, like the room itself knew it was about to stop pretending. Cole arrived in his uniform, hair still damp from a quick shower, that steady firehouse calm in his shoulders. He kissed Jude's forehead, then sat beside me without a word. His presence wasn't loud. It was anchoring. My mother came in next, clutching her purse like a shield. Mara followed behind her, perfectly styled, lips glossy, eyes already rehearsed for sympathy. She smiled at Ms. Patel as if this was a networking opportunity. "Thank you for meeting with us," Mara said brightly. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." Ms. Patel didn't mirror her energy. She opened a folder. "This meeting is to review a reported incident and confirm authorized pickup access. For clarity, we'll start with what happened." Mara's eyes flicked to me. "Zoe was stressed," she said, voice warm and condescending. "The festival was loud, Jude was fussy, and she honestly overreacted. I barely touched him. I was trying to help. There it was again, overreacting. Like if she said it enough times, reality would fold." Cole didn't look at Mara. He looked at Ms. Patel. "May we see the footage?" Ms. Patel nodded. "Yes. I want everyone to understand we're not here to argue feelings. We're here to confirm facts." She turned the monitor toward us and pressed play. The image was slightly grainy, wide angle from a ceiling camera, crowds moving past booths, holiday lights blinking, kids darting between parents. Then the stroller, then me shifting Jude against my chest, then Mara stepping into frame. Even without sound, the moment was unmistakable. Mara leaned in. Her hand moved fast. Jude's body jolted. My arms snapped tighter around him. And the people around us, my mother, my father, stayed exactly where they were. Ms. Patel paused the screen on Mara's hand, hovering near Jude's face. The room went silent in a way that felt physical. My mother's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes darted, searching for a softer interpretation, a safer story. Mara's face changed in real-time confidence, draining, replaced by the tight, defensive flush I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. "That angle makes it look worse," Mara blurted. "You can't tell what happened from one camera." Ms. Patel didn't raise her voice. "We have multiple angles from the building system," she said. "And we have a written report from a volunteer who witnessed the contact and your statement afterward." Mara swallowed. I was trying to get his attention. Babies need boundaries. Cole finally turned his head. Not sharply, not dramatically, just enough to make the room feel smaller. "He's 7 months old," Cole said. Quiet, flat. "A boundary isn't delivered with a hand." Mara looked to my mother, searching for rescue. My mother's fingers twisted together. "Mara, honey," she whispered, like she could still make it disappear. Cole opened a printed page Ms. Patel had placed on the table, the authorized pickup form with Mara's name. "This," Cole said, tapping the paper once, "ends today." He looked at Ms. Patel. "Remove her from the pickup list, permanently. No exceptions." Mara's head snapped up. "You can't, this is my nephew." "My family," Cole didn't argue. He didn't threaten. He simply stated a fact. "Access is earned," he said. "And you lost it." And when Ms. Patel nodded and wrote a note into Jude's safety file, Mara's face did something I'd never seen before, for the first time. She looked scared, not of what she'd done, of what she could no longer control. Ms. Patel didn't treat it like drama. She treated it like policy. She slid a new page across the table, simple, clean, final. Cole and I confirmed the updated authorized pickup list, just the two of us. Ms. Patel added a note in Jude's file, no exceptions, and explained the verification steps if anyone ever tried to change it again. No theatrics, just a door closing with a click. Mara stared at the paper like it had betrayed her. "You're seriously doing this," she snapped, voice rising. "Over one moment, Zoe. Tell them you don't want this." My mother flinched like she'd been slapped too. "Cole," she pleaded. "That's extreme. Families make mistakes. We don't punish people forever." Cole kept his tone even. "This isn't punishment. It's protection." My father finally spoke, clearing his throat as if the room needed a man to balance the emotions. "Let's not make it permanent," he said. "Mara can learn. We can move on. Move on, like it was a spilled drink, like Jude was a prop in a disagreement between adults." I realized something in that moment. My parents weren't asking for mercy for Mara. They were asking for comfort for themselves. If we moved on, they wouldn't have to look at the footage again. They wouldn't have to face the fact that they'd frozen when a baby needed them. Mara leaned forward, eyes glossy now, voice syrupy. "I love him," she said. "I was helping. You know I'd never hurt him. The lie wasn't that she loved him. The lie was that love automatically meant she was safe." I sat up straighter, hands still on Jude's blanket in my lap. My voice surprised me steady, almost calm. "You don't get to call it love while you erase what happened," I said. "You don't get to say I'm overreacting, then expect access to my child." My mother's eyes filled. "Zoe, please, don't split the family." The old Zoe the peacekeeper would have folded right there, would have apologized for making things awkward, would have agreed to a fresh start that required me to swallow the danger so everyone else could feel normal again. But Jude shifted in my arms, warm and trusting, and the new truth landed clean. My child's safety is not a family negotiation. "We're not splitting anything," I said quietly. "We're setting boundaries you should have set years ago." Mara's face hardened. "Fine," she hissed, standing abruptly. "If you want to make me the villain, go ahead, but don't come crying to us when you need help." Cole didn't rise to it. He just stood, opened the door for me, and placed a hand at the small of my back like a promise. As we left, Ms. Patel's voice followed us gentle, professional. "You did the right thing. Parents who trust their instincts keep children safe." Outside, the air felt colder, cleaner, and for the first time since the festival, I could breathe. Winter kept moving, even after that meeting. The holiday festival lights came down, the community center packed away its decorations, and life returned to ordinary bottles, naps, laundry, and the quiet rhythm that makes a home feel safe again. Mara didn't call to apologize. She didn't ask how Jude was. She just disappeared behind a story where I was too much and everyone else was trying their best. My parents tried, in their own uneven way, to pretend we could all reset. But a reset without truth is just a loop, so we didn't loop. Jude's daycare routine settled in. And with it, a strange kind of peace. Cole and I built new habits double-checking, speaking clearly, never leaving things to assumptions. Mara's name stayed off the pickup list permanently. No exceptions like a boundary written in ink instead of emotion. Some nights, I still felt the ache of what my family should have been. But when Jude laughed in his sleep, warm and unafraid, the ache didn't win.
When you step back and look at Joey's situation, the most important point isn't who was right, who was wrong, or who won the argument. The real point is that a baby can explain what hurts, can set boundaries, can leave the room, and can choose safer adults. That responsibility belongs to the grown-ups every single time. Joey did what many people struggle to do at the moment. She treated her child's safety as non-negotiable. Not after the holiday, not once everyone calms down, not when it's less embarrassing, right then. Because children don't get protected later. They only get protected when adults are willing to make hard choices now. Choices that might cost comfort, family approval, or the illusion of peace. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes protecting a child means disappointing other adults. It can mean being called dramatic, difficult, or unforgiving. It can mean stepping out of a room where everyone else wants to pretend nothing happened. But none of that is heavier than the weight of falling a child who depended on you. So here's a question I want to leave you with. If you were in Joey's place, if the room went quiet and excuses started, could you still be willing to be the adult who speaks up? Because kids don't need perfect families. They need at least one adult who refuses to compromise their safety.